So I agree with the critique that some of the most powerful scenes in Panther Pacelli are wordless, because they communicate emotions that anyone can understand, no matter like language or culture, especially in the movie or the film. You don't necessarily need, or just in general, you don't necessarily need to speak your mind on things. That's why some people say, like, I know what you were going through, or like what you were dealing with, even if you never like spoke about it. You can tell a lot by what somebody's going through, not necessarily by them speaking on it, but how they react with things. And one example is when Apu and Durga, I think that's how you pronounce their names, they're running through the fields in the rain, and this, like, without saying a word, like them laughing and their expressive movements, it expresses like childhood freedom. And like when you're little, you don't necessarily think about like the consequences of things, and like what could happen, like you're just like being a kid, you know. And I connected with this moment because it reminded me of my own times. It reminded me of my childhood, when like things were all simple. You had like no worries, no cares in the world, and you didn't necessarily need to like explain, or like explain yourself on what you were doing. You just were able to do it. And another example is when in Deer, I think that's how you say it, the aunt, when she dies, the family's grief is shown through silence and facial expressions rather than dialogue. And I feel like that goes with anything in like this particular category of like death and grief, because it makes sadness like universal. Like how I said, like everybody, I feel like would, like, they don't want to talk about it, and it's moving. And this scene, it connects with me because when I lost a family member, nobody, well, we did talk, you know, we talked about it, but we didn't necessarily like, well, it takes time to talk about things like this, specifically death. And you, like, with your family, you're able to like resonate with one another without having to like talk about it, because there's that connection already that you have. And one similar so like use of silence in the film is Wally. Sorry. So that's uses silence, you know, which speaks louder than words. And so it's when Wally and Eve, I think her name is, so before they meet the humans or whatever, Wally's by himself, and he doesn't have anybody to talk to except for that little bug that's always hanging around him. And yeah, it just shows like how, for me, the way I interpreted it was like, if you're by yourself, you don't like talk to anybody, except for if you're talking to yourself, you know. But he never talked to anybody, but it really spoke words, and how silent, like specifically in that movie, how like, since there was nobody on the planet, it really showed how lonely it was for him. And also when the two robots were speaking, they didn't need to say anything. Like their gestures, like when they were holding hands, it showed love and companionship. And when Eve was like powered off, Wally brought her to his little home, and they were watching a movie together without having to say anything, and that really showed like romance, in a way. And so both films show how silence and simple gestures can transcend cultural differences, and it can connect audiences, not necessarily by not just by culture, but like through shared human emotions.